A public spat has now erupted between ANC Secretary-General Fikile Mbalula and former party veteran Mavuso Msimang. Mbalula yesterday accused Msimang of accepting a bribe to join a new political movement which will be led by the former Prime Media CEO Roger Jardine. Well, he made the remarks during a public meeting held in Wedela in Merafong. Msimang has since denied that he was bribed to join any such formation and says, in fact, he has not joined Jardine's project. Let's talk about this now with political analyst Susan Booysen. Professor Booysen, a very good evening to you. Good to have your time as always. I wonder at this stage when Mavuso Msimang has already said he wants Mbalula to retract this claim, this accusation, if Mbalula should be forced now to provide proof publicly that there was a bribe paid to Msimang to work with Roger Jardine.
Yes, that will be very interesting. It will be interesting to see whether Mbalula can really be pushed into the corner. He should be in a corner. And because that is, in all probability, a wild, false claim that Msimang had been bribed. And it would be typical of Mbalula's normal tirades in which he uses bluster and jibes. A lot of that to probably indicate the depth of the wound that had been inflicted by a person like Msimang. Because I have little doubt we have seen Msimang over the years come to step forward with so much integrity, and he has so much respect in and outside of the ANC. And it will be very interesting to see how Fikile Mbalula gets himself out of this corner. Because I think it has been, by all appearances, it was largely, hugely unfair.
Has he undermined the integrity of the office of the ANC Secretary-General? I mean, it's by far one of the most, if not the second most powerful role in the organization. And now here we are, where there's this back and forth between a Secretary-General of the governing party and a former party veteran who's now left the organization. Because if it was insignificant that Msimang is leaving, as some have tried to say it is, then why is Mbalula seemingly so bothered?
Yes, indeed. It really does indicate the depth of that wound that has been inflicted on the psyche of the ANC to see a person like Msimang leave. And Fikile Mbalula defended the party in the way that he knows best, through the use of accusations. It doesn't matter if it was false in his book or not, as long as it sounds clever and can probably make him feel as if he has hit a proper punch. But that really, we have all seen that for quite a long time, that Mbalula may be a good organizer. He may have been elected into his position probably because he has been good in mobilizing voters for election campaigns. That probably got him that post. But he has been inflicting, indeed, a lot of damage to that post. Gone are the days, think, for example, Kgalema Motlanthe, even Gwede Mantashe in his heyday was not a bad Secretary-General of the ANC. And Kgalema Motlanthe was a high point for the ANC in that type of post. There was dignity, there was intellectual content, but we have not seen any of that apart from hard-hitting, sometimes false, sometimes not, but quick jibes from the current Secretary-General. And that really doesn't do the ANC much good.
How should the party then deal with this episode?
Well, it depends whether the party, how it sees its road ahead with the veterans. The veterans who are remaining inside the ANC are really working hard to try to get Msimang back in there. To get Msimang back, there will probably have to be a public apology. But Mbalula also made a point that he was elected by a conference of the ANC. And that means the ANC will find it very hard to just remove him, even if there are false claims behind it. So it will probably be dealt with in a way of being talked away and swept under the carpet and reinterpreted as if it was not a serious matter. But this one is so in your face and so grossly inaccurate that it will be difficult to escape that one with dignity. But I cannot see how the ANC is going to push Fikile Mbalula out of his position. It's probably going to find a way to tolerate it.
And I want to come to Mavuso Msimang's exit then and all of the speculation around his future. He said in an interview that he gave today that he's not joined forces with Roger Jardine, the former CEO of companies such as Prime Media Broadcasting and Avenge, at this stage. But in the briefing that Roger Jardine gave yesterday in launching this political vehicle, he said he'd be drawing on Msimang, for example, for advice, if we can paraphrase it in that way. He hasn't joined yet. What political weight does Msimang, while he is an ANC veteran, carry outside the party? Does he have pull to lead to the success of any other political organization?
I think he indeed has a lot of pull. He has been in the public domain. He comes from a stalwart family. He is a well-known name historically and at present in ANC, in a broader genre of ANC politics. So he carries a lot of weight, and that is the type of leader, the type of name and reputation that a new political party like Jardine's, or probably they call themselves a movement, that it's a type of leader that they really would want to attract, because we see all over opposition narratives is an attempt to claim ownership of little bits of the old historical, well-lauded ANC. That is what everybody is after, and Msimang will definitely provide a little bit of that flavor, if not eventually a significant part of that flavor, to any new political party that he may join. So we should really see the fallout and Mbalula's efforts at this moment to as an indication of how much they realize that this history and the reputation of the ANC is what everybody is fighting for. Because for a new political party to gain traction, to find really deep grassroots appeal, that is the type of roots that they will have to call on, will have to dig into, because that is where much of the legitimacy in South African politics resides. And to show them, a big part of their task is to show that that is not the domain, those positive attributes are not a domain of the ANC anymore. So it's a fight for ownership of those values over which the ANC had traditionally held sway.
But what are Roger Jardine's prospects for political success when you consider that, yes, he was an activist in his younger years, but ultimately he spent the better part of the last 30 years or so involved in business. As I was saying, he's worked in construction with Avenge, he's worked in broadcasting with Prime Media. How far does that get him in terms of political mileage?
Yes. He has got some mileage in this. It's more his family and his parents, grandparents, than himself, who has got the direct struggle history. But we know for all over the offspring of struggle icons, they do take quite a bit of that glamour and reputation along with them. So there is a little bit of that. And Fikile Mbalula in his fight now is probably doing Jardine a big favor in disputing that, because that makes people think that there must be truth in the fact that, in the claim that Jardine has got much of those struggle credentials in his blood. So it is a big fight in that, and Jardine would have to show, probably in the next few weeks, he hasn't got much time to do this, but in the next few weeks, that he can actually put down anchors, can get grassroots appeal, can show that he has a following, that there is a movement in offing and not just another small political party. And those cards would have to be played so well, and the act would have to be stepped up.
It would take more than him and Mavuso Msimang, if he does indeed join, wouldn't it, to be able to get that grassroots appeal? For example, this is an ANC veteran, quite advanced in age. Majority of the voting population may not be all that familiar with Mavuso Msimang's history in the anti-apartheid struggle. You've got Roger Jardine, as you're saying, yes, family links to the anti-apartheid struggle, but he spent decades in the business world. What does his name mean to someone sitting in an apartment tonight in Midrand, someone sitting in Diepkloof and someone sitting, perhaps, I don't know, in Durban, somewhere in Port Elizabeth, for instance?
Yes, indeed. He would have to show that he has got some real content to add to the hints of reputation and struggle credentials that are hovering somewhere there in his background. So it will take a massive effort to bring that in, to activate a movement with a broad following, with a legitimacy that once used to be in the ANC, and that new parties are trying to transfer into their own new efforts. So yes, those credentials and reputations are really hovering out there in political space, and people are trying to grab pieces of that, and not even the ANC is managing to grab hold of much of that at this time. So it is there for the taking, but the new political owners, those ones really still have to be proven.
Professor Susan Booysen, good to speak to you. Thank you for your time tonight.